Episode 1. In this world, people can acquire extraordinary abilities by consuming the fruits of the skill tree. With some luck, one might become a firebender or even a sword saint. However, Light's fate was far from glorious. He became nothing more than a nutmaster. On a long green pasture, two young people are walking and talking. On the day when skills were bestowed, Light and his childhood friend, Lena, eagerly made their way to the church for the ceremony. Light had always dreamed of becoming an adventurer and hoped for a combat skill, while Lena was content with any ability as long as she could stay by his side. The anticipation was nerve-wracking since no one knew what skill they would receive until they ate the fruit. Light, however, was confident they would both gain something amazing and become the greatest adventurers ever. Fast forward to the present, we see Light leading an uneventful life as a farmer, happy about his new batch of fruit. But he soon throws his hat on the ground. This isn't the life he wanted. His current life was the result of the skill he had been given. 3 months ago at the church, the Holy Sister explained how the skill fruits worked. Eating one would grant an ability that guaranteed a job in the related field, without the burden of student debt. However, there was a strict rule. A person could only consume one fruit in their lifetime. Eating a second one was fatal, and many had died attempting to gain a better skill. The Holy Sister made this clear, emphasizing the 100% fatality rate. Lena was shocked by the risks, looking at Light for confirmation. Light nodded but reassured her that as long as she didn't eat a second fruit, she had nothing to fear. With that, it was time to choose. Lena went first, taking a bite of a fruit that immediately triggered a powerful reaction. A blinding light engulfed her, and her body radiated heat. The Holy Sister recognized it instantly. Lena had acquired the legendary Sword Saint skill, an incredibly rare ability destined to make her one of the nation's greatest adventurers. The church's staff was overwhelmed by witnessing such a talent, as they never expected a true saint to be chosen. Light was genuinely thrilled for Lena, but now it was his turn. Selecting his fruit with care, he hoped for a strong combat skill to fight alongside her. However, the moment he ate it, his heart sank. His newfound ability was Nutmaster. The Holy Sister tried to be encouraging, but it was clear his future battles would involve pests in the fields rather than monsters like an adventurer. Devastated, Light asked if he could try again, but the Holy Sister was firm. The 100% fatality rate was absolute. Lena tried to comfort him, even offering to stay in the village and farm alongside him, but the Holy Sister refused to let her waste her extraordinary talent. As a sword saint, she was needed elsewhere. Without giving her a choice, the Holy Sister took Lena to the royal capital for training. Though heartbroken, Lena promised to return for Light one day. Months passed. Light accepted his new reality, focusing on farming. Using his abilities, he cultivated high-quality nuts and sold them in town, but quickly grew frustrated as this was not what he wanted. Though his life wasn't terrible, he couldn't shake the feeling of failure. One day, he saw a poster announcing Lena's promotion to S rank, proving how far she had come. Though happy for her, it only reminded him of his shortcomings. While walking home, he saw two kids that reminded him of how Lena and he had fries and he had wished to be together always. He had been training every day, desperately hoping to keep up with natural combat ability if he couldn't unlock a combat skill, but all he had to show for it were bruised wrists. As doubt consumed him, he wondered if Lena even remembered him anymore. Just then, a young girl named Ayla approached him with a cup of water. An orphan abandoned by the village chief, Ayla had been left on Light's doorstep, with the elder forcing him to take care of her. With nowhere else to go, she had been living with him ever since. That night, over dinner, Light casually warned Ayla not to eat the skill fruits he had carefully sorted and marked with red X skull symbols. Unfortunately, his warning came too late. She had already used them in the stew they were eating. Panic set in. He remembered the warning from the angry nun. Consuming a second skill fruit was supposed to be fatal. As Light's body heated up and pain surged through his chest, he braced himself for death. He apologized to Ayla, blaming himself for expecting her to understand labels when she couldn't read. However, as moments passed, he realized something was off. He was still alive, having overreacted. Confused, Light sat up, unharmed. Ayla, also feeling strange, suddenly gained the ability to see floating text describing Light's skill. She read aloud. Not only was he the Nut Master, but his skill also granted him complete immunity to nut-based poisons. More shockingly, he'd acquired a second ability, Sword God. The Sword God skill dramatically enhanced his attack power and magic resistance. If Ayla was right, this meant Light's dream of becoming an adventurer might not be over after all. Eager to test his new strength, he rushed outside, raised his sword, and with a single swing, split a tree stump, as well as the massive tree behind it. At that moment, it became clear. Light was now overpowered. The next day, filled with excitement, Light headed to the Adventurers Guild with Ayla. This was his chance to finally become an adventurer. He started to teach the young girl the basics of task completion, leading to rewards, then went to register. While Ayla marveled at the different abilities of the guild members, such as martial arts, enemy detection, fire, and even seduction skills, Light bumped into a group of adventurers. The blonde man was agitated, but then recognized Light, mocking him for being a mere nut seller. One of them, Jean, tried to intimidate him, but when he attacked, Light easily blocked the strike with his enhanced reflexes. Realizing Light was no ordinary farmer, Jean's friends convinced him to back off. After registering for a quest, Light and Ayla traveled to the rocky plains, where they encountered their first monster, a slime. Light carefully approached but quickly abandoned stealth, opting for a direct attack. His swing effortlessly sliced through the slime and the ground beneath it, proving just how powerful he had become. Ayla congratulated him, though she was hesitant about cutting up the slime's remains. However, once Light mentioned they could sell the parts for enough money to buy pizza, she quickly discarded her morals and got to work. Suddenly, they heard shouts nearby. Rushing over, they found Jean and his crew under attack by a massive ogre. They had taken on a simple quest, expecting only to fight a slime, but now they were completely outmatched. Jean, being the amazing person he was, planned to lead the ogre straight to Light and the little girl. The ogre swung its weapon at them. Ayla told Light he could win, and he believed her. With Ayla pointing out the ogre's weakness, Light managed to break its weapon. Determined to reach his childhood friend, he defeated the ogre, with Jean and his friends looking on. Jean's friends, attempting to make up for their past behavior, tried to ingratiate themselves with Light by confirming his accomplishments to the receptionist. He had gained their respect through power, causing a large commotion. The excitement escalated when the legendary sword saint, Lena, arrived. However, when Light called out to her, she completely ignored their past relationship, acting as if he were a stranger. The girl is now a part of the top team, the S-Rank Party Sacred. The leaders are Godspeed Grouse, Strongarm Eirik, Raging Flame Serum, and Lena. The men have hearts in their eyes, as she's the #1 female adventurer, admired for both her strength and beauty. However, Lena now has a completely different personality, acting more like a refined noblewoman rather than the country bumpkin she used to be. Light is left standing in shock, his mouth hanging open. Ayla, unaware of what's bothering him, tries to cheer him up by suggesting they go out for pizza. Light agrees and takes Ayla to get some, but his gloomy mood persists. Frustrated, Ayla warns him that if he doesn't snap out of it soon, she'll eat all the pizza herself. Since Light spent a lot of money on it, he refuses to let it go to waste, even if he's upset about Lena. However, he eats so fast that he ends up choking. Luckily, a stranger hands him a glass of water, and when he looks up to thank them, he's shocked to see it's Lena in a hoodie. Before he can call out her name, Lena covers his mouth, telling him to stay quiet or Grouse will hear them. She sits at the table, and Ayla introduces herself, meeting Lena for the first time. Lena is about to ask how Light managed to have a kid in only 3 months, but before she can, he cuts her off and asks what she's doing there. Lena is equally surprised to see him, as she never expected to run into him at the guild. Proudly, Light tells her that he and Ayla have become adventurers, sharing the story of how he gained a second skill through the skill fruit incident. Lena seems genuinely happy for him, knowing that he's finally on the path to achieving his dream. Light then asks Lena about her experience with the S-Rank Party, Sacred, but from her expression, it's clear she's not enjoying it. She explains that she's forced to fight alongside random people chosen by the Holy Sister. While the pay is great, the atmosphere is toxic, worse than a Call of Duty lobby. She warns Light to stay away from Sacred if he wants to enjoy being an adventurer. Light is confused since he's always heard good things about the group. However, Lena recalls an incident 2 months ago when they fought a giant serpent. Knowing serpents are weak to fire, Grouse ordered the mage to attack with fire magic. The mage complied but went overboard, accidentally setting a nearby farm ablaze. When Lena tried to bring it up, hoping to stop the fire, Grouse showed no concern, believing their only job was to kill the serpent. He dismissed the destruction as collateral damage. When she went to speak with the Holy Sister about this, the Holy Sister was even worse. She didn't care how much property was destroyed or how many peasants died, as long as history remembered them as heroes. Lena doesn't reveal Sacred's twisted ideals to Light, but he can tell she's unhappy. He invites her to join him and Ayla, but despite wanting to, she refuses due to circumstances preventing her from leaving Sacred. Even though she insists she's fine, Light can see her tears. Not wanting to drag him into her problems, she leaves the table. Later, Light goes to the front desk to claim his reward for defeating the ogre and is handed 10,000 gold pieces, more money than he's ever seen. Yet, he feels no excitement, as his mind is consumed with worry for Lena. He realizes he can't help her unless he figures out what Sacred is forcing her to do. Since Lena won't tell him directly, Ayla suggests they ask Grouse, whose lounge door happens to be wide open. Inside, Grouse is boasting to two women about his legendary battles. He recounts a recent mission where his party hunted an evil grizzly, torching it with a massive inferno before he delivered the finishing blow. Just then, the receptionist enters to inform him that the villagers from that mission have lodged a complaint. The fire attack dried up their reservoir, leaving them without water. Grouse brushes off the complaint, claiming collateral damage is unavoidable. Deep down, though, he enjoys causing trouble for those he deems weak. Light, overhearing the conversation, becomes furious. He knows Lena would never ignore the suffering of innocent people. Confronting Grouse, he demands that he release Lena from Sacred, seeing how unhappy she is. Grouse, remembering how Lena acted toward Light, mockingly calls him an overzealous fan. Unimpressed, he calls security to have Light removed. Other adventurers warn Light that angering Grouse means getting on the Holy Sister's bad side, which could end his adventuring career. The next day, Sacred gathers in the lounge, indulging in self-praise and the gifts the Holy Sister gives them. Meanwhile, Lena reflects on Light's words about leaving if she's unhappy. Summoning her courage, she announces that she wants to live by her own moral code and is leaving Sacred immediately. However, as she walks toward the exit, Grouse suddenly blocks her path with alarming speed and threatens to kill her for defying him. Lena reaches for her sword, but hesitates. She knows even with her sword saint skill, she can't defeat Grouse alone. Forced to submit, she lowers her hand and Grouse strikes her to the floor. He then gives a speech about persevering for the greater good, claiming she must fight for their cause until she dies in battle. That same day, as Sacred prepares to leave town, Lena resigns herself to a life under Grouse's control. However, their departure is suddenly blocked by Light. Grouse demands to know why he's in the way, and Light boldly declares that he's here to take back his friend. He invites Lena to hunt monsters with him and Ayla, reminding her of their promise to become adventurers together. Lena remembers their promise and longs to go with him, but she lacks the strength to defy Grouse. She pleads with Light to leave before he gets hurt. Grouse tries to dismiss him, but Light refuses to back down. Instead, he challenges Grouse to a duel for Lena's freedom. Grouse initially refuses, but Light taunts him, questioning if he's afraid of losing. Unable to ignore such public disrespect, Grouse agrees. However, he sets a condition. If Light loses, he will be permanently banned from the Adventurers Guild. Without hesitation, Light accepts. Lena begs him to reconsider, fearing he stands no chance. Grouse draws his sword, and Ayla warns Light about his Godspeed skill, which allows him to close distances instantly. Light readies his sword, claiming his skills are Nutmaster and Sword God. Grouse doesn't believe him. No one can have two skills. The fight begins, and Light barely reacts in time to block Grouse's attacks. Forced on the defensive, he struggles to keep up with Grouse's speed. Eventually, Grouse shatters Light's sword, seemingly securing his victory. Feeling generous, Grouse offers to spare Light if Lena swears eternal loyalty to him. However, Light assures Lena that he'll win no matter what. Seeing his determination, Lena puts her faith in him. Annoyed, Grouse prepares to end the fight, but Light, now weaponless, grabs a broom from a bystander. Grouse assumes he's being mocked, but Light is serious. He visualizes the broom as a sword and focuses entirely on his instincts. When Grouse dashes forward, Light reacts instantly, striking him so hard with the broom that he's sent flying into a wall, knocked out cold. With Light's victory, Sacred loses their claim over Lena. Light warns them that if they come after her again, they'll have to deal with him. Turning to Lena, he tells her she's finally free and invites her to join his party. This time, she happily accepts. A week later, Light has returned to his usual routine, tending to his nuts, but now lives in a nice estate and garden with Lena by his side, making him happier. While eating lunch, Lena asks about his injuries from the duel, but Light reassures her he's fine and ready to go on missions with her. However, their problems aren't over. The Holy Sister has been sending messengers all week, trying to convince Lena to return and talk to her in person to force her back. Lena refuses all attempts. Since they've earned her wrath, they're now blacklisted, only getting the worst adventuring jobs like exterminating sewer rats. Though these quests barely pay, making the receptionist who knows the truth feel awful, Lena doesn't mind. She finds fulfillment in helping people, whether rebuilding homes, clearing sewers, or finding lost pets, earning praise from the people. Even after a full day's work, they only earn enough for a few pizzas, but she's genuinely happy because for the first time, she's making a real difference. Light, seeing her smile, realizes that despite the hardships, they're finally free. In the dark chamber of the Holy Sister, she's devised a plan to kill off Light and Ayla, forcing Lena back to them by giving them an S-rank quest. Episode 3. As Light and his party embark on their latest quest, they struggle through an incredibly dense fog, making it nearly impossible to see their path. Uncertain of their location, Light turns to Lena for confirmation, and she reassures him after consulting the map, stating they should be nearing the mansion. Suddenly, Light's horse rears up, nearly throwing him off as they finally come upon their destination. However, it becomes clear that the horse won't be able to go any further. Earlier that day, Light and his group had just arrived at the guild to select their next quest when they found the receptionist already waiting for them with a special assignment. Without knowing what it was, Light says that the party of Luxaria will handle it. Relieved to see Lena's party, she urged them to accept the mission, emphasizing its urgency for everyone's safety. However, she admitted that there was little information about the situation, only that an adventuring party had vanished in Monty Valley, and every effort to investigate their disappearance had ended in more adventurers mysteriously going missing. Alarmingly, both A and B rank adventurers had fallen victim to this phenomenon, suggesting an immensely powerful force was at work. The receptionist provided a list of the missing adventurers, and to Lena's shock, she recognized them as the very people who had mentored her when she first started adventuring. This made her deeply concerned for their fate. The only clue they had was that all the missing adventurers were last seen visiting the abandoned mansion of Count Monty, a legendary adventurer who had amassed great wealth before retiring. While there were no records of his abilities, he had died over 30 years ago, making his money adventuring and left the mansion to decay. Lena hesitated to accept the mission, knowing even seasoned adventurers had vanished without a trace. However, Light was thrilled about visiting Monty Valley, and with the promise of a generous reward, even Ayla was on board, motivated by the thought of buying more pizza. The receptionist, noticing Ayla's presence, questioned whether it was wise to bring her along. Light defended her role, explaining that Ayla was a reliable appraiser. When pressed on how she had skills at such a young age, he casually revealed that she had accidentally eaten a skill-granting fruit, but had survived without issue. With that, the group set off toward Monty Valley. Back in the present, navigating a precarious mountain path with a steep drop below, Light reminds Ayla to be careful. As he gazes at the massive mansion ahead, he finds it hard to believe that someone could have accumulated such wealth from adventuring alone. Lena, however, isn't too surprised. Despite only being an adventurer for a few months, she has already saved enough to buy a house, as it's common for BS rank adventurers to do so. Light, inspired, dreams of building a grand home of his own, complete with orchards and a training ground. Ayla agrees, caught up in the excitement, and jumps up frantically, declaring her desire to build a candy house. But in her enthusiasm, she jumps onto the ledge, only for it to crumble beneath her. As Ayla plummets, Light reacts instantly, grabbing her hand just in time, only to lose his own balance and fall with her. Lena attempts to pull them back, but she too gets dragged down, sending the entire group tumbling. Thinking fast, Light slashes through the air with his sword, generating enough wind pressure to slow their descent. Thanks to his quick thinking, they all land safely. However, survival doesn't mean they're out of danger. Lena and Ayla soon realize they are surrounded by zombie-like figures. Light, unfazed, charges forward and effortlessly slashes one of the creatures in half. Yet, as Lena and Ayla observe more closely, they make a horrifying discovery. The creatures are not ordinary monsters. Light freezes as the truth sinks in. These undead were once adventurers, with him killing one of them. Ayla quickly uses her gauging skill, confirming that the adventurers were turned into undead after being bitten. She warns them not to get bitten as they'll turn into zombies if they do. Worse yet, they have retained their original skills, making them formidable foes. Light struggles with the revelation, unable to reconcile his excitement for combat with the knowledge that he is fighting former humans. Distracted by his moral dilemma, he nearly gets bitten, only for Lena to step in and save him. She acknowledges his hesitation, but reminds him that as adventurers, it is their duty to put their fallen comrades to rest. Understanding her words, Light steels himself and agrees to fight. However, for now, their priority is to retreat into the mansion in hopes of finding survivors. Inside, they are met with even more undead. Lena takes the lead, cutting through them with precise strikes. Light, impressed by her knowledge of monster weaknesses, realizes that despite his more powerful sword god skill, her experience and technique surpass his own. Determined to contribute, he joins the fight. As they battle through the undead, Light makes a critical mistake. He leaves Ayla unguarded. This is why she should have stayed home. An undead ambushes her, but before it can strike, Lena swiftly eliminates it. Ayla is awestruck by Lena's skill, but Lena reminds herself to stay vigilant, proving to both of them that they're terrible guardians. Light's slip-up could have cost Ayla her life, and Lena has nothing negative to say about him. Swearing to fight with a clear head from now on, Light resolves to ensure they all make it out alive. With the first floor cleared, Lena suggests moving to the second. However, Light brings up a disturbing realization. They were sent here because 18 adventurers had gone missing, yet they have already fought far more than that. This suggests that the mansion was already overrun with undead before the recent disappearances, an unsettling prospect. As they ascend the stairs, Light notices a painting of Count Monty and feels an eerie sensation. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the mansion, a girl dances under the spotlight, watching them with anticipation, eager to find creative ways to kill Light. As they explore the second floor, they are ambushed once again. Ayla's gauging reveals that these undead are different. They are being controlled. Light soon notices something behind them, a thread. He believes they should follow the magical threads connected to the undead to see who's behind all this. The threads lead the group to a grand ballroom where all the threads converge. Upon entering, they find themselves face to face with the mastermind, a young woman in a revealing lingerie dress. She calls herself one wing of the Black Swan, an elite force of darkness. Her name is Dratena. Initially relieved to see a living person, Light quickly realizes she is anything but friendly. Ayla appraises her and discovers her skill, necromancy. Dratena is visibly irritated by Ayla's ability to uncover her secrets so easily and contemplates eliminating her first. Before she can act, Light questions whether she is working for the guild, hoping to avoid a fight. Dratena denies any affiliation, stating that her sole reason for being here is to kill Light. Confused, Light insists he has never met her, but Dratena clarifies that she has no personal grudge. She was simply ordered to kill him. When asked who gave the order, she says it's a secret. Dratena tries to separate the Holy Saint from Light while he fights the zombie adventurers. As they are separated, Lena freezes when she sees her teachers, now turned into zombies. She is warned about these being special zombies as they retain their abilities. Brock has the claw ability, with extended nails. His wife has Mirror Strike, allowing her to create an image of herself to confuse the enemy and attack twice. Struggling to keep up, Lena barely manages to defend herself thanks to Ayla's guidance. Frustrated by Ayla's interference, Dratena sends an undead to kill her. This time, Light is ready. He rushes in, grabbing Ayla and vowing to protect her. However, fighting while ensuring her safety proves difficult. Dratena relentlessly sends undead after him, seizing every opportunity to target Ayla directly. Meanwhile, Lena battles with her conflicted emotions. Bor and Shira had been her mentors, the first to show her kindness when she arrived at the Holy City. But now she has no choice. If she wants to save Ayla and help Light, she must end them. Determined, Lena cuts the threads controlling her former mentors, severing their connection to Dratena. She can now hear their voices, speaking to her and telling her she's doing the right thing by freeing them through defeat. A tear slips down her face as she says goodbye to her mentors. Light is confused by the size of this undead army and asks Ayla if the caster created them, but the girl tells him that she only controls the undead in her area. Still, this doesn't make sense to Light, as this place is a mansion, not a battlefield or cemetery. So, how did it collect so many bodies? Seeing how much of an impact the little girl is having on the battle, the necromancer makes a move to target her, but Light defends Ayla. Light calls her a coward for doing this, but Dratena reminds him that there are no rules to a fight, showing how clueless he is. With the army of undead closing in on them, Light is unable to fight freely because he brought a child to the battlefield. Episode 4. Back in the fight, he tells Ayla to hold on tight. This confuses Dratena, but what Light does next is even more shocking. He jumps high into the air, grabbing hold of the chandelier with one hand, while Ayla uses her skill to analyze the situation. While she's doing this, Light shows how weak he is physically, starting to get tired from holding them up. This makes Ayla blush, reminding him that she's a child and weighs nothing. She gets off topic, admitting that she's eaten a lot of pizza lately, but isn't fat. Light yells at her to hurry up and use her skill to appraise the situation. This is when Ayla notices the undead in the back, recognizing that it has a special skill called Summon. Light recognizes this person as the Count of Monty. Dratena is annoyed, as it seems they figured out the secret behind her trick. Light then notices something else strange. On the balcony platform, overseeing the scene, is a dark figure. It looks like a death god compared to the others, exuding an oppressive aura. Ayla is able to identify it as a soul reaper. She reads off its description, stating that it is very dangerous, as it's the one able to turn normal humans into undead. One hit from it, and it's game over. With a swing of its scythe, the monster produces black sludge and flings it at the two. Light jumps down from the chandelier and grimaces as he notices the after effects of the toxic sludge. Ayla realizes that Ms. Dratena is controlling high-level undead monsters. Dratena reveals that it was actually the Count who originally summoned the Soul Reaper. She finds it ironic that the once famous adventurer summoned this monster, only to be turned into an undead by it. With Light now able to understand how this all happened, he realizes that people went missing because the Count summoned the Soul Reaper. One by one, average-level adventurers were summoned here, not knowing they would be turned into undead by the Soul Reaper. He knowingly summoned people just to turn them into monsters. Dratena laughs, saying the man was quite wicked. Light doesn't understand why he would do this. Dratena frowns as Light once again shows how naive he is, only able to see the bright parts of the world. Light doesn't know what she's getting at, and Dratena decides to inform him about taboo skills in their society, skills that cause people to ostracize them or hate them, simply because they were randomly given the skill. As the Count was one of these people, he was once praised by the villagers for being a kind, respectable hero. However, when ugly-looking monsters appeared one day, their opinion changed. They became afraid that this power would one day be used against them. Consumed by fear, the people filed complaints to the government, and they were able to put distance between themselves and the Count. The people even went as far as to accuse him of treason. But the harassment didn't stop. Soon, assassination attempts were made on him, even though he had relocated to this isolated area. Recently, he had been attacked by a party of adventurers who lied, claiming they were on a monster extermination mission. The Count, tired of all the attacks, summoned a monster to defend himself, creating the Reaper, with the Reaper then creating an army for the Count. Light is stunned, as he didn't know the guild had assassination squads. Satisfied that his naive outlook is being shattered, Dratena claps, signaling that the conversation is over. It's time for her to dance, as she finds this place magical. With a sinister look, she plans to use her necromancer skill to control a summon user, creating her own endless army of marionettes. Light grips his sword tighter, unsure if he can win. He compares his Nutmaster skill to the taboo skills, thinking that, like those skills, he can have an endless amount of abilities since he can consume multiple fruits. He wonders if people will come to fear him if they learn the truth. He's reminded of the battle as a wave of black sludge makes its way toward him, forcing him to jump back. Ayla helps him stop overthinking the future, reminding him of the present. His only goal now is to protect Ayla, slashing another monster. Dratena flutters her fingers, controlling the threads as she's determined to eliminate them, with all the undead moving forward to attack. Light performs his sword god style, Surge Blade. Dratena is eager to see the move, but Light sticks his tongue out at her, having fooled her. He jumps up and declares he's not her opponent, with a dead serious Lena ready to end her. Seeing this, Dratena retreats, calling for the Soul Reaper to defend her. But it's too late, as Lena slashes through her boss monster. Disappearing into the air, Lena is serious as she tells the woman that she won't kill her, but she expects her to answer her questions. With the boss monster gone, this frees up Light to attack the undead Count. As a final move, the undead Count tries to summon something, with Dratena activating her skill, Agitato. A dark purple magic circle summons a menacing new boss monster. In a flash of light, the power from this new monster destroys all other undead in its presence. Dratena laughs hysterically, never expecting such a powerful undead dragon, but the dragon smacks her away, showing it won't be controlled by anyone. Ayla identifies this as the Wicked Dragon. They then look to Lena, who is able to recognize the creature as the highest level target for S-rank adventurers. The group is about to attack it head-on, but Ayla shouts at them that this is the worst idea possible, as it's resistant to slashing attacks. As the scales block all the sword attacks, Light is overconfident in his sword god skill, believing he can defeat it, but he's soon proven wrong when his sword breaks on impact. The dragon reacts with a shadow ball, forcing Light to dodge in mid-air. Light is shocked it didn't work, and Ayla tells him to listen to her. Ayla then comes up with an idea and hands Light a new nut to activate his Nut Master skill. Meanwhile, Dratena, looking utterly defeated, is picked up by a new figure who looks like he's from the Mad Max universe, ready to take her home after her failure. The dragon doesn't give them time to react, attacking them. Lena advises Light not to eat the fruit, as it could kill him. But Light tells her he's built differently as the Nut Master, being immune to the effects of death. Light eats the fruit, and a similar heartburn drops him to his knees. Lena has to keep the dragon's attention and wonders if he's okay. Light has Ayla check his new skill, and she reports that he's now resistant to bugs, making Light complain that she gave him the wrong fruit, forgetting that these skills are completely random. Lena's in trouble, so Light asks to eat 2 fruits at the same time, but Ayla is worried about what effect this could have on his body. Eventually, Light gets his way and starts chugging down the nuts, 2 at a time, causing the side effects to double as well. Eventually, Lena isn't able to keep up with the dragon, but at the last minute, Light gets a new skill called Sleep Pixie. He summons Tinkerbell, who can put anyone to sleep. No kidding. He decides to put the dragon to sleep, but the problem is that the dragon would thrash around, causing much of the building to collapse. Figuring the group needed to escape, he gets up close to the dragon's face, and Tinkerbell puts it to sleep, telling everyone to run while he does so. On the way out of the mansion, he grabs a scale from the dragon as a sign of defeating it. The group hurries back to town to collect their reward and enjoy good food. All the while, Light is in deep pain, but hides it. Once the gates open for them, he collapses, having been poisoned. It's another pleasant, sunny day. At the party's mansion, Ayla is tending to the orchards while Lena enjoys a nice hot shower. She then gets into the bath, showing just how much time she has to relax, as well as how carefree she is. Afterwards, she gets dressed and heads to the kitchen to prepare a lovely lunch. Ayla shows Lena that she's doing well with him, as she's helpful around the house. They look up at the sky, saying that he'd be happy to see them doing well, making it seem like the man has passed away. Light suddenly runs out to tell them that he's not dead. The two look unimpressed, unsurprised by his sudden appearance. But as he goes to take a drink of water, the two grab him and rush him back to his bed. They lecture him, reminding him that he ate 4 fruits, so his body is probably still hurting, and suggest he rest in bed for 2 days. Lena throws him onto a modest bed and checks his temperature, feeling that his fever has gone down. She tells him to eat up, as they have prepared chicken breast, vegetable soup, and honey lemonade. As he prepares to eat, the two hint that they're leaving. This makes Light question what's happening, and Lena brings out a letter from the Adventurers Guild, requesting information about the Wicked Dragon. Hearing this, Light definitely wants to go. Ayla doesn't allow it, telling him he should rest, promising to tell him how it goes. But this only makes him want to go even more, as the idea of being left out makes him anxious. The two head to the Adventurers Guild, but upon arrival, they're told to wait, which makes Lena visibly confused as they now have to wait 2 hours. The receptionist apologizes, explaining that the upper staff has been busy with meetings. She then turns to Ayla, informing her that the little girl won't be able to attend the meeting since she was never registered as a guild member. Hearing this, Lena decides to register Ayla as an official member while they wait. Ayla is given a sheet of paper to fill out, while other members whisper among themselves, assuming the kid must be talented if Lena is having her sign up with her. The little girl feels out of place hearing this, her child brain thinking she needs special equipment or strong powers. Seeing Ayla's lack of confidence, Lena decides to take her out to the market shops. There, the girl gets excited. Outside a shady-looking shop, Lena feels uncomfortable going inside, but Ayla's innocence wins out as she remains unbothered and walks in. Inside, Ayla is able to recognize the high value of the items. Lena is impressed with her appraisal skill, realizing it even works on objects. The shop owner, smoking his cigar pipe, tells the little girl she's mistaken. The rock may be shiny, but it's not a diamond as he hasn't sold it as one. Trusting Ayla's judgment and sensing a good deal, Lena buys the diamond. She gives it to Ayla as a necklace, then takes her to a fancy shop to buy extravagant clothes. Lena makes it clear that they're here for Ayla, but the staff doesn't let the opportunity slip away. Having such a celebrity client, they whisk Lena away to dress her in exotic outfits. By the end of it, Lena is left drained from all the attention. Next is Lena's turn, but they are gentle as they show off a cute animal costume. Ayla likes it but hesitates to put it on. Lena encourages her to be more confident as a member of Luxuria. With that, the girl excitedly shouts her wish to become an adventurer. At the guild, the two have her application accepted and head into the meeting. Meanwhile, Light is doing one-handed push-ups while Tinkerbell watches, unimpressed. The sleep pixie, unable to talk, smacks him in the face, visibly frustrated that he isn't resting in bed. Even after dragging him to bed and pulling the covers over him, she struggles to keep him there. Inside the inner halls of the guild, they see other workers, including the receptionist. As they walk, Lena grows concerned because Dratena was technically part of the guild, having been hired for assassination missions. The details of the Count's Manor incident remain unclear, with the higher-ups having had a hand in assigning that mission. At the highest room, security is tight. They are checked for weapons, which are taken away by a well-dressed security guard. The doors open and they are allowed inside. The room resembles a circular courtroom straight out of Ace Attorney. One of the attendants bows and addresses the members of the 4 bureaus, then announces Lena Floria of Luxuria. Ayla is confused until the receptionist bends down to explain that these are the 4 major divisions of the guild. At the top is the guildmaster, overseeing 4 separate bureau departments. Looking up at the stage, they see the members. First is a young girl who is the head of monster ecology and population studies, known as Flower Hat. She is an overly excited type and a big fan of the Sword Saint. Next is a grizzled-looking man responsible for security and maintaining public order, known as Tiger Beard. The old man believes he could take on the wicked dragon himself. Then there is the head of the finance department, a mob boss-looking man in charge of distributing rewards. Impatient, he urges them to move the meeting along. Finally, there is the Holy Sister. On the surface, she commends Lena for taking down the wicked dragon and freeing them from the Countess's zombie problem. Ayla, curious about the Holy Sister, attempts to check her stats with her appraisal skill, but is confused when nothing appears. As the Holy Sister speaks, Lena abruptly cuts her off, asking about a person named Dratena of Black Swan. The sister denies knowing this person, as does everyone else in the court. She dodges the question and instead asks about the whereabouts of the wicked dragon. Turning to the girl in the funny hat, she adds that she sent one of her birds to search the area, but they found nothing. Lena grins. She has proof. She presents a dragon scale she brought with her. The girl in the big hat jumps down excitedly to examine its magical properties. As she prepares to examine the scale, Lena refuses to part with it until she receives the files on Dratena. The other high nobles are flabbergasted that she is making demands of the court. 3 of the council members don't care, as the scale is more valuable, so they turn to the Holy Sister for her opinion. The sister allows it. With that, the green-haired girl decides to use her appraisal skill, Scholar's Eye, which allows her to read anything on paper. The records state that 12 years ago in the capital of Athena, a girl named Dratena Belbury received a skill fruit, granting her the skill Necromancy. Lena then asks which office was in charge of overseeing Dratena, and the records point to the Holy Sister. This proves that she knows Dratena, and Lena demands answers. However, the sister continues to deny it, claiming that thousands of people come to her every year to receive skill fruits, making it impossible for her to remember every face or track with what they do in life. With this, Lena realizes she won't get any more information. The meeting concludes, and as the Holy Sister walks out, she announces that, as of this moment, Luxuria's records will be erased. Lena and Ayla immediately demand to know why. The sister explains that Grouse, the leader of Sacred, issued a formal complaint, claiming that Light Underwood unlawfully poached her. He calls their duel an act of violence, and the court deems it barbaric. Lena can't believe what she's hearing. At that moment, Light strolls in as if the matter isn't serious. When informed that his party is being erased from the records, he remains unfazed, stating that it doesn't matter whether they're registered or not, they're still Luxuria. The Holy Sister is about to do something sinister, using her skill, but she stops when she examines Light's abilities. She sees that his potential is limitless, as vast as space itself. Light asks if she's okay, and after a brief pause, she suddenly changes her stance. She offers him a chance to redeem himself by completing an S-rank monster hunting job, promising generous compensation. Lena is immediately suspicious and asks why the sister changed her opinion so suddenly. The sister lies, putting on an act, pretending to be moved by their resolve. Lena warns Light to be careful, but he's too focused on the praise and the high payout of an S-rank mission. He likes the idea of boosting his reputation. Lena is certain it's a trap, but Light doesn't care. He's confident he can defeat anyone who stands in his way. The group is assigned a quest to hunt down a creepy-looking plant monster. However, before they can leave, they are approached by Gravekeeper, the leader of the Financial Bureau. He has come to fine Light 1,000 gold pieces for bringing a weapon into the conference room. Ayla is horrified by the amount, comparing it to 30 Little Caesars pepperoni pizzas. Light tries to argue that his sword doesn't count as a weapon anymore since it's broken. Lena doesn't believe that terrible logic will get him out of the fine, but surprisingly, the man allows it, shocking them all. However, there's a catch. Since Light rented that sword from the guild, he is instead fined 5,000 gold for breaking guild property. When they return to the front desk, the receptionist greets Light with a sickly sweet smile. This isn't the first time he's broken a guild sword. Since he's a repeat offender, the guild refuses to sell him another one. Light, still the ultimate optimist, decides it's time to get his own sword. With their next quest delayed for a few days, Lena decides she wants to head to Athena for a visit. At the Trade Market District, Light and Ayla go to find Light a new sword. Inside, the place doesn't look like a blacksmith shop, but more like a library. As they walk up to the counter, the man behind it informs them that they won't be able to make Light a sword. Light doesn't understand why. The man explains that his party has been blacklisted in the market since most of the merchants are affiliated with the Holy Sister. Light figures there has to be something they can do, but the cashier tells him there's nothing. Leaving the store, the two head home when they notice a girl being chased by 3 rough-looking men. Light finds the situation shady and follows them. The girl, out of breath, runs into a dead end. She jumps in fright as the men catch up to her. One of them tries to attack, but Light blocks it because, of course, this is exactly how heroines are introduced in these kinds of stories. Just as Light is about to be hit with a bludgeon, the strike lands hard enough to crack the cement ground, but Light easily dodges the attack. He tells the girl to get back, but the red-haired girl in a bun looks concerned for him. Light reassures her, "Relax, I'm a sword god. These NPC characters don't stand a chance." When he pulls out his sword, she becomes even more worried because it's broken. But Light, channeling his inner Meliodas, enhances his weapon and knocks the first guy out with the butt of his sword. The thug is sent flying into a stack of wooden crates. The other two instantly lose their fighting spirit, grabbing their friend and stumbling out of the alleyway. Light turns to check on the girl. She nods. "I'm fine. Thank you for your assistance." She introduces herself as Monica. After introductions, Monica invites them to her place, offering tea and cakes. While Ayla is more than happy to accept, Light declines. They're on a tight schedule and need to head to the Bolst workshop. Monica looks surprised. "That's my shop." This catches them off guard. They assume she's an apprentice, which makes her laugh. "Just follow me." Inside, Light questions her about where the rest of the staff is. Monica reveals she doesn't have any. She handles everything, running the register and forging weapons, all on her own. She officially welcomes them to Monica Bolt's blacksmith shop. They're shocked. Earlier, they read on the map that she's a legendary blacksmith. Monica thanks them again and promises to forge a weapon for Light as a reward for saving her, using only the best materials. Then, out of nowhere, she makes them bird-shaped pancakes with chocolate. This confuses them. Then, like a cheesy car salesman, she excitedly reveals that the pan she used is something she made. She also offers heart-shaped and cat-shaped versions. She's really trying to sell them on this. It's a buy one get one free deal. A 5-piece set for 2,000 gold. Light jumps. That's way too expensive, but Monica quickly recovers. As thanks, I'll cut the price in half, 1,000 gold. She's eager to make a sale. Light, however, just wants a regular pancake. Monica sighs, disappointed. She thought her invention was really cool. She even tried to sell it to those men earlier, but they thought she was ripping them off. Light is flabbergasted. Maybe pick better clients next time? Still, he admits that her craftsmanship is impressive. Monica nods. These days, I mostly just make household items. Looking around the shop, Light spots a hoe blade. Monica's eyes widen in surprise. That's a farming tool. How do you know that specific type? Light shrugs. I'm a farmer by trade. I grow fruits. Monica rubs her hands together, ready to sell him even more products. Light explains that he does everything by hand. Intrigued, Monica asks to see his hands. She examines them, then puts on her goggles, preparing to craft the perfect tool for him. Activating her skill, Super Forge, she begins working. With this ability, she can give metals desired properties. When I hit something with my hammer, I can freely manipulate the hardness of the material, she explains. The metal bends under the heat, forming a sharp blade. With a little more work, she creates a comfortable pair of scissors, perfect for harvesting produce. Light grips them, impressed. They feel perfect in his hands. Monica hands him a piece of firewood. Light raises an eyebrow. You seriously think this tiny blade can chop through? Slice. The blade cuts through the wood with zero resistance. Light stares at it, stunned. What the hell? This thing's like a legendary weapon. Excited, he grabs Monica's shoulders. If you can do this, then you can totally sharpen my sword. But just as the words leave his mouth, Monica's face darkens. Of course. There's always some traumatic backstory preventing her from forging swords. Light has a hunch it's related to the Holy Sisters, but Monica simply says, I hate swords. She knew from the moment he walked in that he wanted her to forge one, but she was hoping to change his mind and sell him pans instead. I want to prove that I can run a business without selling weapons, she declares. Light scratches his head. I mean, I was told to come here to buy weapons. Monica blinks. You must mean the other Bolst store, across the street. Pan to across the street, a much bigger blacksmith shop. Dozens of workers hammer away at weapons under the guidance of a strong, charismatic man, one clearly respected by all his employees. Suddenly, Monica walks in. The workers acknowledge her immediately. Miss Monica. She walks straight up to her father. Make this guy a sword. Her father frowns. So you're sending customers my way now? What, you can't satisfy them yourself? Monica's fists clench. It's better than selling to shady people. Her father glares at her. Mind your own business. Monica storms out of the shop. Light sighs. Turning to Monica's father, he tries to ask about a sword. Can't do it, the man says. Already behind on orders, booked for the next half a year. With that, Light leaves. He'd rather have Monica make his sword, but he needs to find someone else. That's when Kane, one of Ival's apprentice blacksmiths, walks up to Light and Ayla. Kane recognizes Light. He was in the crowd during the first episode when Light defeated that arrogant adventurer. Unlike most in the town who are under the Holy Sisters' influence, Monica and her family aren't, meaning they can make weapons for him. Kane then shares the backstory of why Monica and her father went their separate ways, despite being the greatest blacksmiths in the Holy City. A year ago, Monica's grandmother, the boss's mother, was transporting supplies across the nation in a carriage, but the supply cart was attacked by bandits. They killed everyone, including her grandmother. When the Investigation Bureau conducted an inquiry into the attack, they discovered weapon signatures matching Monica's craftsmanship. These weapons had been used by the attackers. Naturally, Monica wasn't directly involved, but since her weapons were in play, suspicion arose. It turned out that the boss had been selling weapons to merchants. As Kane is about to explain further, two shady-looking men approach, asking for the boss. These men are Doug and their leader, Zamdo, both part of a shady merchant group. Zamdo eyes Light but doesn't immediately recognize him, though he's sure he's seen his face somewhere before. However, before he can dwell on it, the boss steps outside, and the men get down to business. Zamdo presents a contract that would essentially turn the boss's shop into a private supplier for their group. He tries to sugarcoat the deal, promising weekly payments over the year, but it's still a restrictive agreement. Kane immediately protests, calling the deal absurd since they're already struggling to keep up with orders. That's when Doug turns to Kane with a thinly veiled threat. If the boss doesn't comply, Doug sneers, we'll just turn his daughter into one of our workers. No buildup, no subtlety, just outright, broad daylight threats in front of everyone. They then escalate things further, boasting about their abilities and demonstrating their merciless merchant tactics. In the end, with little choice, the boss signs the contract and the two men walk away, victorious. Once they're gone, the boss asks Light not to tell Monica about what happened. However, he also admits that, unlike Monica, he doesn't know how to make a living without selling weapons. That night, Light and Ayla take Monica out for dinner, pizza of all things. Once again, Monica insists that she can't make Light a weapon, but Light and Ayla wave it off. We didn't bring you out to ask for that. We just wanted to have dinner with you. Monica is genuinely touched. It's been over a year since she's gone out with anyone, and she truly enjoys herself. Meanwhile, at that very moment, Zamdo bows before the Holy Sister. Apparently, Zamdo is a loyal subordinate of the Holy Sister. She's the real buyer behind all these weapons, urgently needing a new batch as soon as possible. To keep things running smoothly, the Holy Sister has already dispatched a spy within the Safety Bureau, ensuring they don't have to worry about consequences. Zamdo agrees to continue supplying her. However, before leaving, the Holy Sister gives him one more task: get Light. But there's one condition: do not kill him. I have other uses for him. That night, Monica hums up to as she walks home, still glowing from the lovely dinner with her new friends, and then she's kidnapped. Kane eventually catches up to Light, clutching a note and Monica's goggles. The note reads, "We have the girl. If you want her back, come to the underground arena. Alone." This is Blackbird Merchant Group's stronghold. This time, the merchant group has gone too far. They've taken Ival's daughter. The man is furious, determined to storm in himself, but somehow they manage to calm him down and leave it all to Light. With that, Light takes off running to rescue Monica. Monica wakes up, groggy from being roofied. Her captors, however, are shockingly incompetent. They're weak, barely trained, and completely unprepared for a real fight, yet they still believe they can take on Light. Light makes a grand entrance, accepting their challenge. At his signal, gates to the dungeon open, a giant bull monster stomps forward. It obeys their commands as they prepare to attack together, but Light simply sighs. "You guys talk too much." He summons Tinkerbell, using her ability to put all of them to sleep instantly. With the enemies neutralized, Light frees Monica, completing the classic boy saves the princess moment. As he carries her back home, Monica is completely out cold, slumped over his shoulder. Light explains, amused, she thought the pixie dust looked cute, got too close, passed out immediately. The boss thanks him deeply. But now, he's looking at Light less like some random traveler and more like a future son-in-law. Zamdo sits in a horse-drawn carriage on his way back to the city, reflecting on his recent conversation with the Holy Sister. He recalls the trap he set for Light, viewing it as just another routine job in his line of work. He hopes this will serve as a stepping stone to climbing the social ladder. However, Zamdo fails to consider that Light is not an ordinary opponent. He assumes that a group of common thugs could easily overpower him in a fair fight. At the family blacksmith shop, Monica's father apologizes to Light for dragging him into a family dispute. Light, however, doesn't mind, as the thugs were after him as well. The father then declares that he is cutting all ties with the Blackbird Merchant Group, stating that this was the final straw. Although their income will drop to zero, he prioritizes his family's safety above all else. Suddenly, Monica comes running down the stairs with her maid chasing after her, urging her to go back to bed as she is still injured. Ignoring the maid, Monica demands to know if her father is really planning to stop making weapons. He reassures her, telling her to calm down. He never said that. Instead, he will simply sell to more trustworthy buyers. He reminds her how costly a single weapon can be and the number of workers he has to pay. Moreover, he has been running this shop for 25 years, long before he even had a child. He takes great pride in what he built with his own two hands, a true craftsman at heart. As Monica prepares to argue further, she suddenly loses her balance. The maid insists she return to bed, and she reluctantly agrees. Seeing how late it is, the father invites Light to stay overnight, as it is already 2 a.m. Light looks at Ayla, and the young girl, already sleepy, nods in agreement. Light and Ayla follow the maid upstairs, and as they walk, Light notices how large the building is. The woman acknowledges this, saying that everyone enjoys working there. It's the only shop they want to be in. She also reveals that she is the one handling all the cooking, cleaning, and laundry. Though technically a housewife, She is actually Monika's mother. She chooses to stay out of her husband and daughter's conflicts, believing she has no influence over them. Light manages to cheer her up as he sees a resemblance between her and Monika. That night, Monika sits on the roof patio gazing at the moon. Light enters her room to check on her and sits down beside her, asking about the dagger she holds. Monika explains that it was the first weapon she ever made as a child. Her father had been strict about his craft, which made her immensely proud when he finally praised her work, calling her a natural. That moment brought her great happiness. When she acquired the Superforge skill, she was certain she would always be a blacksmith. She deeply respects her father for growing the shop and taking on more students. Hearing her speak so fondly of her father, Light wonders if the two can reconcile. Monika's smile fades. The reason she initially loved blacksmithing was because of the joy her weapons brought to people. But after her grandmother died, she realized that her swords might have been doing the opposite, causing harm. That thought terrified her. She then asks Light if he has ever taken a life. Light freezes, but eventually admits that he has. The person was undead, yet still alive. He had to accept the weight of his actions and move forward to protect his friends. Monika nods and then asks Light if he believes he wields his sword for good. Light responds that he does, but he acknowledges that the definition of good varies from person to person. If he uses his sword to kill his enemies, Monika probably wouldn't consider him a good person. Meanwhile, back at the Blackbird hideout, Doug wakes up in the same position he had placed Monika in hours earlier. The boss questions whether Doug is still tough enough to follow orders and fight. Doug breaks into a sweat, knowing there is only one acceptable answer. The next morning, Light is woken up by Ayla, who invites him to breakfast. As Light moves to sit down, a little girl scolds him, saying that the seat is reserved for Monika. The mother apologizes, explaining that the seat has always been Monika's, even though she hasn't used it in over a year. She then hands Light a plate of egg sandwiches, asking him to take them to Monika, as the girl might still feel awkward around the family. Light and Ayla go to deliver the meal, but Monika is in the garden instead of her room. When they approach her, she is surprised but happily accepts the food. She explains that she is trying to make amends with her mother for all the worries she caused, though it seems their crops may not yield a good harvest. Light offers to help and uses his skill to accelerate the plant's growth. Monika is caught off guard as she was unaware of this ability. Light casually tells her that he was originally the Nut Master, capable of rapidly growing any nut-bearing plant. Monika yells in shock. That's not what she was asking. How did a so-called Nutmaster manage to take on the Blackbird merchants alone? She can only sweat drop as she listens to Ayla explain how broken Light truly is. Ayla even adds that her job is to always keep a few fruits on hand, just in case. Monika thinks Light is the biggest cheater she has ever met, completely shameless. As she shakes him in frustration, a loud crash erupts from the shop. Downstairs, thugs from the Blackbird merchant group have pinned down the workers. Monika and Light rush to the workshop, only to find Zamdo behind the attack. Zamdo offers to take the fight outside, but Light assumes they need another lesson and summons Tinkerbell. The fairy attempts to put Zamdo to sleep, but it fails. This time, Zamdo has created a lightning-based protective barrier. Getting technical, Zamdo smugly explains that he researched the mechanics behind her ability. Since her sleep-inducing power comes from airborne particles, he devised a way to eliminate them, rendering her useless. He then targets the workshop, planning to destroy it along with everything inside. Tinkerbell pouts, realizing she won't get any screen time in this fight. Zamdo declares that Monika is essential to him, as he can make any product look high quality, even if it's cheaply made. To prove his point, he steps on a sword crafted by her father, calling it trash. Outraged, Monika defends the craftsmanship, stating that the workers put their hearts and souls into their craft. Zamdo continues to mock their efforts, but Light steps in, picking up the trampled sword and assuring Monika that he will handle this. The battle begins, and Zamdo quickly overpowers Light, striking him with lightning attacks that both paralyze and hurt. Ayla analyzes the attacks and identifies traces of iron. Monika explains that Zamdo carries iron balls with him, which he uses to channel iron-infused lightning attacks. If this continues, Light will lose. Determined to help, Monika uses her forging skill and throws a cooking pan at Light. He protests. This is no time for cooking. But she yells at him to trust her. This will let him catch the iron balls. Confused, Light braces himself for Zamdo's next attack, but when the iron balls hit the pan, they land perfectly in place. Zamdo is impressed by Monika's quick thinking, but remains unfazed. The iron balls still conduct electricity, shocking Light through the pan's handle, which is different from his sword's leather grip. Though pained, Light reassures Monika that he can handle it. However, she can see his sword slowly chipping away. It will eventually break. Monica is torn. She wants to forge him a better weapon, but the trauma from her grandmother's funeral still lingers. As the fight intensifies, the surrounding area suffers massive destruction. Watching this unfold, Monica resolves to leave and forge a new sword for Light. Meanwhile, Light turns the tide, infusing his blade with a wind spell and landing a solid blow on Zamdo. However, Zamdo gets back up, smirking. He announces that he will now take the fight seriously, summoning a Pokemon to battle alongside him. The boss believes that playtime is over. Light is attacked by a wild Jolteon, blocking the dog's bite with his sword. At the same time, while defending, Light turns his back to Zamdo. With his lightning-infused sword, Zamdo attacks, crashing Light into the side of a building. Light is laid out on his back, looking knocked out and defeated. Meanwhile, Monica is making a plan to rescue her father and craft a sword for Light. At that moment, the Holy Sister looks into her mirror, smiling at her plan. Inside, the thugs loom over Monica's father and his workers, who are unable to move. Monica sneaks around to the entrance where guards stand watch. She gets their attention and then makes a run for it, leading the men away in pursuit. Meanwhile, Ayla remembers the special scissors Monica made a few days ago. Scissors that can practically cut through anything. She sneaks into the room and manages to cut the chains tying them up. Just as she's about to celebrate, Doug appears out of nowhere, looming over her. His ability is invisibility. Outside, Monica, feeling confident, reaches a wall and throws down some bronze sheets. She then pulls out her hammer and activates her skill, Superforge, striking the bronze sheets and turning the hard metal soft and sticky like quicksand. Once the guards sink in, she hardens it again, trapping them completely. Smirking, Monica runs back to the shop. Barging into the workshop, she's devastated to find that Ayla has been captured by the much older Doug. He mocks her for relying on a child to save them. Meanwhile, the other men stand around uselessly like cheerleaders, none of them trying to fight. Monica feels pressured and steps back, spotting a rare, shimmering metal on the table. She gives a subtle nod, which Ayla and the men notice, trusting she has a plan. She picks up the rock and tosses it at Doug's feet. The blinding light forces him to drop Ayla. Seizing the moment, Monica's father tackles Doug to the ground and orders the others to tie him up. Ayla takes the opportunity to explain that her ability is appraisal, though she didn't really do much this time. With that, the father and daughter reunite, agreeing to work together to forge a weapon for Light. The father's skill, quick work, helps them get started. This energizes everyone. Some barricade the door, while others move boxes of coal around the workshop. Together they begin shaping the metal into a blade, heating it in the fire as the father hammers away. Monica is flooded with childhood memories, both the good times and the feeling of being trapped in the shop after her grandmother's death. But now, she won't hesitate. Activating her skill, she strikes the sword, making it unbreakable. The glow from her ability leaves everyone in awe. Her father is immensely proud. With the sword complete, they are finally ready to help Light. The father kicks down the door, and as they rush out, they are shocked to see Light's defeated form. Monica prepares to toss him the sword, but he doesn't move. Zamdo believes it's already over. Light slowly gets up, pushing through the pain with another burst of energy. He turns to Ayla and asks for another skill fruit. Ayla reaches into her pouch and tosses one to him, but her throw is terrible. The fruit sails over his head and lands at Zamdo's feet. Zamdo is completely confused. He knows that a person can only eat one skill fruit in their lifetime. Eating more than one is fatal. He can't understand why Light and his friends would try to poison themselves. Offering them a chance to surrender, he warns them against going through with it. Light acknowledges Zamdo's strength, but declares that he will become the strongest Nutmaster in history, a legend who cannot lose to a guy with such a ridiculous fashion sense. Zamdo, unimpressed, dashes forward and force feeds Light the skill fruit. Everyone watches in horror, except for Ayla, who remains confident in Light's ability to handle it. Zamdo attempts to talk him out of swallowing the fruit, but Light bites down anyway. A tornado of flames erupts around him. He kicks Zamdo in the face, creating distance between them. Zamdo is stunned. Light introduces himself as the Nut Master, the only one who can eat multiple skill fruits. He tries to act like he knew this would happen all along, but it's clear that this was pure improvisation based on Ayla's mistake. His reasoning? He knew Zamdo liked to torture people, and that made him suspicious. But then he immediately contradicts himself by admitting he panicked when Ayla misthrew the fruit. Ayla finally uses her appraisal ability, revealing that Light now has Torch Flame, a utility skill that allows him to coat anything in fire. Zamdo quickly analyzes the ability and realizes how valuable it is. He now understands why the Holy Sister wants Light under her control. Jealousy takes hold, and instead of trying to capture Light, Zamdo vows to destroy him. Fueled by rage, Zamdo and Light prepare for a real fight. The Jolteon is defeated in the crossfire. Both men remove their jackets, signaling their readiness. Zamdo's men rush to help, but he yells at them to stay out of it. Light notices this and assumes Zamdo isn't completely heartless. Perhaps he has a soft spot for his subordinates. Zamdo, however, insists that he just wants to defeat Light himself. The battle escalates into a full-blown anime showdown. Both fighters charge up their power, screaming like characters in Dragon Ball Z. Then, the scene shifts into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure territory as Zamdo summons his Lightning Devil stand, while Light's Fire Beast stand roars to life. Monica clutches her hands together, praying for Light's victory. The sword she forged represents a new chapter in her life. Ayla reassures her, telling her to believe in Light. Monica yells for him to protect the workshop with that sword. After 5 intense minutes of staring each other down, the two finally charge forward, shouting their attack names. In the end, Light emerges victorious, but his sword breaks in the process. He thanks Monica for the weapon, but apologizes for destroying it. She tells him not to worry. The next one she makes will be perfect for him. Overwhelmed with emotion, Monica bursts into tears, thanking Light for protecting her home. As they begin to celebrate, the remaining thugs foolishly refuse to back down. Light pauses, then shoots them a glare. His intimidating presence alone makes them step back in fear. Suddenly, a voice commands the Blackbird merchant gang to stand down. A tornado of wind swirls around them, revealing none other than Tigerbeard, the head of security. He is 2 episodes late, but finally arrives to arrest the gang for their crimes. Using his chains of air, he swiftly overpowers them. Tigerbeard apologizes to his boss, now revealed as Ival, for his late arrival. Ival points to Light, saying that it's thanks to this kid that they managed to hold out for so long. The adrenaline wears off, and Light's accumulated injuries catch up with him. He suddenly collapses, but Tigerbeard catches him just in time. As the dust settles, a bird's call echoes through the air. A messenger bird lands on Ayla's hand, carrying a letter. Monica is shocked to learn that Ayla knows the famous sword saint, Lena. Ayla casually explains that she and Lena are in the same party. Meanwhile, Lena is close to her destination, recalling how the mysterious girl they encountered earlier must be following orders from the Holy Sister. With her arrival in Athena, the lake capital, Lena prepares to expose the Holy Sister's connection to Black Swan, with solid evidence. A new chapter begins. Lena arrives at the lake capital of Athena, amazed by how lively the place is. Children play and laugh in the streets, shops are busy, and everyone in town is smiling and having a good time. As she walks around, she sees an elf man greeting the crowd and welcoming travelers like herself with flower ornaments. He smiles at her, and for a moment, Lena considers taking a break, but quickly shakes her head, reminding herself that this isn't the time to celebrate. She takes the ornament off her head. As she continues walking, Lena convinces herself that this must be the place where the Holy Sisters sent assassins. She tells herself to stay focused as she starts questioning people on the streets. She asks about a person named Dratena Belbury, but instead of confusion, the 2 people she speaks to exchange worried glances, questioning her relationship with the Belbury family. The name brings back bad memories for them, and instead of answering, they walk off. Next, she approaches a barmaid to see if she knows anything, but instead, the woman screams and drops the bottle she was carrying to a customer. Lena continues asking around town, but all she gets are dirty looks and dismissals, with people telling her to go away like she's a nuisance. Now, shunned by the townspeople, Lena notices a suspicious-looking man in a hood and chases after him. However, the man is aware that she's following him. She reaches for her sword, keeping herself ready. As she is led into a back alley, she realizes that the man has vanished. Then, he appears behind her. Lena reacts, but she's too late. He uses his abilities to summon vines that restrain her movements. Luckily, Lena realizes this in time and swiftly cuts through the vines with her sword before charging at him. The two engage in an intense back-and-forth sword battle. She quickly deduces that this organization must be even stronger than S-rank adventurers. She demands to know who he is. The man scoffs, calling her nothing more than a rookie trying to play spy in their business. Suddenly, a voice calls out for her to stop as she is surrounded. Lena turns, warning the speaker to step back or she'll cut them down. But to her surprise, it's the cheerful girl with the hat, Flower Hat. The girl waves at the sword saint and introduces her subordinate, Yuan. She explains that she sent Yuan to investigate because Lena was doing a ridiculously poor job of gathering information around town, so she had him go retrieve her. Lena takes offense to that, but then asks why the investigation bureau is involved. Flower Hat gives her a look, as if she's stupid, and tells her that they're obviously investigating Dratena too. This surprises Lena, as she had assumed Flower Hat was on the Holy Sister's side. However, Flower Hat clarifies that she isn't on anyone's side. Her only goal is to gather information and put criminals in jail. Currently, they're looking into Dratena and still researching the scale they obtained from the Wicked Dragon. They now know that Dratena was the one who summoned the monster, which is why they're searching for her. She could provide valuable information for their analysis. Not to mention, they want to ensure Dratena is under control, as they don't want the power of the Wicked Dragon to be used. Such power is a threat to the entire country. This is why Flower Hat has come into contact with Lena. She understands that this case is personal for Lena, but they can't allow her to negatively impact the Bureau's investigation, as their work takes priority. The two walk off, believing the matter is settled, but Lena grips her sword tighter. She can't go home empty-handed, so she asks to go with them. Flower Hat smugly asks if she's trying to cheat off their test papers, and Lena shamelessly says yes. Flower Hat laughs and allows it. Her assistant turns to his master, asking if she's sure about this since Dratena has already seen Lena's face. However, Flower Hat doesn't care, and instead invites Lena to join them for lunch. The three enter a shop managed by an old grandmother. Flower Hat excitedly orders the evening special, freshly caught fish. Lena questions her in public, reminding her that they're in the middle of an investigation. Ignoring her, Flower Hat also requests tomato sauce that has been stewed overnight. Lena, unfamiliar with spy tactics, finds the request odd, but the grandmother nods and opens a secret door. They descend into a cellar room where a drunk man sits at the bar. The assistant hands him a bag of gold coins containing 20,000. With the payment made, they inquire about Dratena Bellbury's location. The man never expected anyone to care about her. He explains that Dratena is the daughter of the town's once prestigious Bellbury family, which lost everything because of her. Pouring himself another drink, he continues, Dratena always loved to dance. At the age of 6, she took a bite of the skill fruit, becoming a necromancer. After that, a series of unfortunate events befell the family. The death of her mother, the decline of their trading business. Her father blamed Dratena for their misfortunes and her taboo skill. She was disowned and sent away to live in her own private villa. The town ostracized her, with her only supporter being the Holy Sister, who had exchanged letters with her since childhood. Lena is shocked when the man reveals that Dratena is still alive. This revelation hits hard. Lena had believed that Dratena didn't survive the collapse of the mansion. Guilt has weighed on her ever since. The sketchy man demands additional payment for the girl's exact location, which annoys Flower Hat. Yuan reminds the man that they already negotiated the price and refuses to let them be exploited. The man, trying to act cocky, claims he must have forgotten and hopes they understand. Flower Hat gives her attack dog the signal, and within moments, Yuan's vines lift the man into the air, a blade pressed against his neck as he is ordered to speak. Lena tries to protest, feeling this is going too far, but Flower Hat shuts her down. She reminds Lena that the man broke their agreement first. He's being foolish, thinking he can mess with the government rather than some nobody on the street. Sweating, the man finally gives in, revealing that Dratena is preparing the Dance of the Fairies. Lena doesn't like this. She believes it to be a form of torture. Flower Hat raises an eyebrow, unimpressed by Lena's naivety. She tells Lena this is exactly why she would have found nothing on her own. At a large estate nestled within the forest, the sound of heels clicking against the floor echoes down the hallway. A butler approaches Lady Dratena, asking if she plans to go out today. Dratena, now appearing more refined and composed like a true young lady, remains unfazed. The butler, concerned for her well-being, advises her not to leave as she has yet to recover fully. However, Dratena is unmoved. She must attend, as the Holy Sister herself has nominated her for this event, and she owes the woman a great debt. The dance she is about to perform is a sacred event in Athena. According to legend, 1,000 years ago, the Fairy King protected the lake from monsters. A towering, crystallized magical statue now stands over the lake as a testament to that tale. Over time, a ritual was established to commemorate peace through prayer, and it became tradition. The crystallized stone is said to hold the Fairy King's purifying power, bringing calmness to his people. Every year, daughters of respectable families are chosen to dance, and this year, Dratena has been selected. Lena looks down, unable to understand why Dratena continues to live here despite being treated so poorly. Flower Hat doesn't know either, but assures her that they will find out. At the entrance of the theater, the group is stopped by the holy staff, who inform them that they are not permitted to pass. Flower Hat casts a dark look, but then dramatically reveals a dress hidden beneath her cloak, with Lena doing the same. She confidently declares that they are the dancing sisters chosen to perform. This catches the men off guard. The staff hesitates, uncertain, as they were not informed of this. However, instead of verifying their claim or asking for official documents, they decide to let them through, blushing as they admit that the ladies have rather shapely figures. Upon entering, they immediately notice the harsh treatment Dratena endures. The other girls whisper about her in hushed, judgmental tones. Deeper inside the theater, they spot a triangular platform floating on the lake. At the center, Dratena and two other dancers are rehearsing. As she dances, Dratena's demeanor shifts. She exudes a maturity that wasn't apparent before. Lena points her out, and the two recognize each other. Yuan receives the signal, and his vines swiftly ensnare Dratena, arresting her. Dratena, utterly confused, stares at the members of the Investigation Bureau and the Sword Saint standing before her. Flower Hat wastes no time. She demands to know where the Wicked Dragon is. Dratena, still processing what is happening, clarifies. The dragon was never under her control. This was disappointing for Flower Hat, but she still decided to take Dratena back to the capital. She wanted to place a magic tracer skill on her. Dratena didn't understand why they had to leave immediately. She had no problem going with her, but asked for 2 more days. She still needed to dance. However, Flower Hat was adamant. This was something she couldn't compromise on. Dratena was understandably furious about being forced to leave just as her childhood dream was about to be fulfilled. Flower Hat, however, didn't see it that way. In her eyes, Dratena was ignoring a major threat just for the sake of a dance. Calling her selfish, she declared that she would drag her back, even if she resisted. Lena was conflicted but ultimately sided with Dratena. Without hesitation, she cut down the vines binding her. Then things took a turn for the ridiculous. Lena grabbed Dratena's hand and suddenly became the Incredible Hulk, leaping to the height of skyscrapers to make their escape. The two got away, but Flower Hat remained unconcerned. Dratena had made it clear that she was determined to dance, which meant they wouldn't be leaving the city. Later that night, the bard from earlier was rowing a young couple across the lake, telling them the legend of the crystal that protected them. But then, in a sinister tone, he questioned what would happen if a crack appeared, foreshadowing an impending monster attack. Meanwhile, back with Light, the boy was hard at work, doing one-finger push-ups as part of his training for the S-rank mission that would determine the future of his party. At the same time, Monica was also hard at work, forging the perfect blade for him. Flower Hat sent out her birds to search for Dratena and Lena, relying on their superior night vision. However, the birds soon rushed back in a panic, clearly disturbed by something frightening. To confirm her suspicions, Flower Hat plucked a flower from her hat seeking a sign, but the flower quickly withered away. She freaked out and activated her skill, Scholar Eye. Yuan had no idea why she was suddenly so panicked. In a dark alley, the two girls, Lena and Dratena, walk the streets like silent bar girls. Lena questions where they can go, and Dratena instructs her to follow her to a residential house on the edge of town. A timeline confuses Lena, but Dratena clarifies that that's enough time until she can get help from the Holy Sister to handle Miss Flower Hat, as she's also a bureau head, so she'd have to at least respect her. Lena stops, demanding to know why she attacked them at the manor, as this was her reason for this is why she helped her, as it would make her feel indebted to Lena. Lena tries not to admit this and says she helped free of charge because she saw her dance, not believing she could be a bad person after seeing her. Dratena calls her stupid, as that's not how that works, with Lena not knowing anything about her as a person. Lena then comments on how she heard about her upbringing. While they're walking, 2 kids come up to them, admiring the dancers, cheering them on as they promise they'll be watching them. Dratena blushes from the praise, but wants to leave. Soon the parents of the children run over to grab the children, being prejudiced toward Dratena and afraid her curse will spread to them. Dratena walks it off, saying sarcastically that as the Sword Saint, she's never experienced treatment like this. Lena tries to defend her, but they're interrupted as a man frantically monsters attack the town. Lena steps in and cuts down a monster. Dratena can't believe there's never been a monster attack, as the fairy stone's purifying power keeps them away like bug spray. Just then, the little girl that cheered Dratena on is in danger, and about to be attacked. Lena can't make it in time. Dratena uses her necromancy skill to control a fallen monster and save the little girl. The parents can't believe that Dratena would save them. Soon their attention is drawn to a monster protecting humans with a barrier, but it's soon overpowered. Lena goes to save it and defeats the monster attacking it. After working together, the girls manage to defeat the monsters in the town. But soon, the small blue reindeer monster barks at a black mist. A large monster appears from the mist, wanting to grab humans, but is stopped by Miss Hat's assistant with his vines. His boss teases him for being so brutal. Lena and Dratena meet up with the two, and Miss Hat orders for the townspeople to head to the cathedral, as it has old defenses equipped to protect them. With barrier magic, she's already made arrangements for guards to protect the people. Then, in a serious tone, she tells them to follow her, as they're going to deal with this black mist. They go to the docks, as her plan is to attack the elf crystal in the middle of Lake Athena. The elf bard from earlier shows his true colors as he's playing his drill music, surrounded by the black miasma. Meanwhile, Light is outside in the forge room. Monica is hard at work making him a blade. Her father brings in some materials he was going to save for his next jobs, but allows his daughter to use them. He's happy to see her so focused and asks her why she's trying so hard. Monica reasons it's because the sword she made last time broke too easily in the last battle against Zamdo. She wants to make Light the best sword possible. The father finds it funny how his daughter cares so much about Light. Monica then says she wants to do her best because Light always works so hard to achieve his dreams. This is always some of the biggest lies in anime. At what point has he worked hard? All the powers are given. One day of training isn't working hard for any dream. Anyway, back with Flower Hat, Dratena doesn't understand how any of this is happening, as the fairy stone is meant to purify the area, not draw monsters towards them. Flower Hat believes someone found a way to reverse the effects of the crystal. That's why her plan is to destroy the stone. Dratena can't believe the audacity of such a comment, as the stone has been around since ancient times and has done more good than harm. It's always protected these lands. Flower Hat knows this, but says it's the only way to stop this place from being filled with miasma, which isn't true, as she just needs to defeat the caster and let the crystal do what it's been doing for centuries. Flower Hat teases, saying, shouldn't she be fine with this? She can't believe Dratena actually cares about what happens to the people of this town. Dratena looks away, saying she's not as loyal to the city as she claims. But without the stone, the dancers of the town will lose their significance. Flower Hat reiterates the point that it's the only way to stop what's happened, then tries to give a confident smile that they just have to believe. The dark elf soon appears, and Flower Hat faces off with him, wanting to know his plan for causing such a disturbance. I don't know what got into Lena, but she don't wait for no explanation or nothing. She leaves the raft straight into the monster's mouth, uses a monster as a jumping pad, and slices the elf. But this wasn't enough, as he sheds his disguise, revealing himself to be Argos, a disciple sent to carry out his master's revenge. He's on some destroy everybody and their descendants energy. The waves of the ocean begin to shift as he summons a small army of monsters, pointing at them as he's about to claim their lives. Of the four of them, it looks like Dratena will have to be the one to destroy the crystal, as she's the only one who can fly. Flower Hat can't do anything in combat. Her assistant and possible lover, Yuan, is restricted from the water. Just as Dratena leaves, the little blue reindeer unicorn monster touches the water and summons a crystal stairway to the fairy stone. Lena can't believe what she's seeing and asks the small dog, "Who are you?" As the elf is about to attack Lena and the dog, he's shot, red stuff drawing from his face. It came from Flower Hat. Argos doesn't hesitate to crush the boat. Lena shouts out to Flower Hat, but Yuan jumps in front of her, saying she shouldn't worry. She didn't manage to be a bureau head for nothing. Back with Flower Hat, it's revealed that she's perfectly fine, taking the situation lightly, as she says she may have a fruit skill in investigation. But she reveals there used to be forbidden books that grant secret techniques on the same level as fruit skills. She reveals there are actually 48 books like this one, as they're sealed away in the holy city for being too dangerous. But given her position, she can see all of them, her first summoning being the power of the Book of Frost, then the Book of Flame, and next, the Book of Barriers. Flower Hat then yells at the girls to do their job in destroying the fairy crystal, but Dratena is still hysterical, as she couldn't possibly do such a thing. Doing so would doom the town to be attacked again. Lena doesn't know what to do, as this isn't something she'd ever want to be responsible for. Flower Hat then speaks to Lena, saying she's not giving her an order, but asking her to actually choose for herself. With that, she believes that Light would have found a way. But in the end, she tells Dratena that she will bear the responsibility for what happens, then destroys the crystal herself. Argos wasn't expecting them to go so far in destroying the fairy stone, but he isn't against it, as now the final boss has arrived. The water dragon emerges. The dragon overpowers them and starts to destroy the city. Flower Hat reassures them that the people are safe, but Dratena can't get over what this means. The attack was aimed at the dance theater she loves, and now the tradition of dance has lost all significance. But they have to refocus, as this dragon is on the same level of power as the one from the manor a couple of episodes ago. In spite of everything, Lena is looking forward to the challenge. If Light could defeat the dragon, then so can she. Back at the cathedral, the townspeople panic as the fairy stone is gone, wondering if they'll be safe. One brave boy believes they'll be fine, as it's just like the time the fairy king and his soldiers defeated a bunch of monsters in his fairy tale. Yuan decides to help his lover, and he leaps in the air, destroying the monsters she put in her lightning barrier. She smiles, but soon collapses. Yuan catches the girl, saying she always overexerts herself when using her grimoire. She remarks that it's too much fun using it. Just then, Argos interrupts their moment to remind them he's causing havoc as the dragon destroys another part of the city with a dark beam. Flower Hat looks to the girls and tells them to defeat the wicked dragon, as it's the only way to save the city. Lena then asks if Dratena can hold back the wicked dragon for like 10 seconds. Dratena looks over at the girl, asking what she's planning to do. Lena believes that if she gets close enough to the dragon, she should be able to do something. Dratena's chest lights up as she summons all the monsters that were once defeated. Threads appear from her fingertips, activating departed fusion. Summoning a large kraken monster from their parts, the kraken uses its tentacles to grapple the dragon. She sets the stage for Lena, as this should provide her with a couple of seconds. Using the crystal panels, Lena swiftly cuts the neck of the dragon. The others believe it's over, but Argos can only laugh at her foolishness as the tentacles of the kraken disintegrate off the dragon's body. The dragon has a decay effect, rendering it untouchable. With one blast, the dragon is able to defeat the kraken. Argos then fuses with the dragon and is prepared to fly away. He is determined to destroy the false city of Athena, as it's the source of all his pain. Flower Hat uses her Scholar Eye to research what skill he's using to summon the dragon. She's able to determine that he used a possession-type spell. She calls out to the girls, telling them that the only way to save the city now is to defeat that man, Argos. So what I thought originally, meaning they didn't need to destroy the fairy crystal. Hearing this, Argos is fine with destroying them first using a Mist Breath attack. Flower Hat is able to counter the act with her second book, Book of Flames. While in the middle of her beam struggle with the dragon, she's impressed by its power and agrees that only she would be able to match its raw strength. But she is soon overpowered in the beam struggle, needing Yuan to grab her and take her to safety. But with that, they're separated from the middle of the fight, leaving it all up to Dratena and Lena. Argos makes the first move with a Rot Breath attack. Dratena is able to use necromancy to bring monsters to act as meat shields for her. But Lena jumps in the middle of the dragon's attack to use Bouclier, being a Sword Saint barrier. Even so, she's easily overpowered and barely left alive. Still, even so, Lena refuses to give up, jumping at the creature again, but this time, the blast swallows her. But by the power of plot, she's protected by a blinding light coming from the baby unicorn. She wonders what it's doing, but she soon sees a past memory of a grand war with an army of identical women that look like Lena fighting. She sees multiple different clips of the past war from the adult unicorn's eyes. Forming a blinding ball of light, the light soon takes the hand of the dragon. Flower Hat believes that the Sword Saint must have evolved, but Dratena can't believe what she's seeing. Lena is shining a bright heavenly glow, with fairy wings appearing out of her back, seemingly floating above the water's surface, as Lena has received the blessing of the fairies. As Lena has become Athena's legend of the Fairy King, Argos still isn't concerned, as this dragon is the strongest in history. But he is soon greeted by a sword at its hand as she uses the power of Eclairus. At the harbor, Yuan believed the power of the Fairy King. Flower Hat must agree, because with this power and speed, Lena is sure to win. With her wanting to get closer and research it, she then commands Yuan to take her over there. Yuan tries to reason that she's still exhausted from all the fighting, but the girl seemingly overlooks this as her desire for knowledge is greater. Meanwhile, Lena flies through the sky, unbothered by the water. Lena finds this new power source strange but easy to manage, as it reacts to her needs without her needing to think or give commands. It feels like someone is guiding her movements. It looks like a boss fight in a Sonic the Hedgehog game, as she smacks the big jerk with the blunt side of her sword. While Flower Hat is giving her opinion of Lena like she's making a great discovery, Yuan is busy making a raft for them to stand on, making her mad he's not paying attention to her. Argos is mad as it looks like he won't win this fight. That's when he remembers that he didn't come here to fight, but to destroy Athena. So he targets a rot breath attack at the cathedral to destroy the city's barrier, but Lena manages to cut it in half. Deciding she's played around with him enough, she instantly swoops down and lands, planting her sword on the dragon's nose. This purifies the dragon, and it falls to the bottom of the sea. Dratina is sad she didn't protect the stone, but is happy that everyone is safe. On the body of the dragon, Argos is having a temper tantrum as he can't believe he's lost. Lena points her sword at him as she demands that he tells her everything he knows. Argos thinks that the Holy Sister is the one that sent Lena, as he knows the Sword Saint is a part of the Sacred Party, not knowing that Lena left Sacred. Argos decides that he can't trust her, as he must get revenge for his ancestors on these lesser species. He escapes. Lena's power runs out, and she feels exhausted. Dratena and the unicorn hot dog appear. Suddenly, Flower Hat uses foam sheep and heals them with her grimoire's power. This covers their bodies in a deep foam as it heals all the damage done to them. The mood is now a lot more lighthearted as all of them seem to be on good terms, having all done their part in saving the city. Back with Light, he's working hard, with Ayla bringing him food. Meanwhile, in the forge, Ival asks his daughter what she plans to do now, as she knows what it means to craft the perfect sword for someone. It's the equivalent of following them on their journey. Monica understands this, and Ival gives his blessing for her to leave the town with Light. Back with Lena, she apologizes to Flower Hat as the man they were fighting managed to get away. Flower Hat isn't concerned about that. She did her part to defend the city. Plus, she managed to get this, a talisman that Argos left behind. It's a tool that was used by the ancient civilization of Zealam. Each talisman has a unique pattern on it. This one happens to have a bat, which means reversal in their language. He used the power of the talisman to dilute the wicked dragon and reverse the purity of the Fairy King. Lena finds her reasoning spot on, and Flower Hat appreciates the compliment, but then geeks out about holding such a rare tool. That said, she does want to ask about Lena's strange power that granted her the ability to fly. Lena doesn't know and looks to the blue dinosaur for answers. Suddenly, the man from her visions appears. He's the Fairy King. He floats down, introducing himself as Obel. He says that he's left behind this transparent form in case he was ever needed. Being the research nerd she is, Flower Hat is freaking out the most at seeing a 1,000-year-old fairy. She wants to know everything, trying to ask him beginner questions you wouldn't expect someone like her to care about. Crazy enough, the ghostly figure doesn't mind. He's never really thought about his hobbies before, but deems poetry his favorite. Dratena then cuts in, asking if he meant to give Lena his power. The king reveals that it wasn't actually him. Sirondoros himself was the one behind it, the unicorn that was once sealed in the fairy stone. In the past, the Fairy King and the unicorn Sirondoros fought alongside each other to defeat the demons, but their reward for all that fighting was a burnt land covered in ash. The land was no longer feasible as it wouldn't yield any crops. Unsure of what to do, Sirondoros offered its body as a power source to fertilize the land, leaving behind a body double to keep watch over the outside world. The blue hot dog then gets up and floats to the side of its old friend. He thanks all of them for what they've done, saying they're no longer needed now that the land is once again habitable. With brave knights to protect it, he's happy that his descendants have created such a beautiful sight. Before vanishing, he has one final wish, asking them to show Sirondoros the dance of the fairies, so he can depart with the memory of the tradition with him. Dratena doesn't hesitate to step forward, as this dance means the most to her. So she grabs Lena, much to her shock, as she never actually planned to perform the dance. Dratena tells her not to worry, as after the first step, the rest is just repetition. The people at the cathedral are able to see them, and they all wonder what the girls are doing, as this isn't exactly the time for a dance. But an old performer stops them, saying this is exactly why they're doing it. The musicians start to play their festive music for the girls while they dance, and Flower Hat decides to aid them by adding some magical flower petals for the atmosphere. Some are worried as they still have a bad opinion of the Belbury family, but others stop them from whispering as the girls save them from monsters. The girls dance, and Dratina is allowed to have a solo dance, allowing the stigma of the past to be removed. As she does so, the fairy crystal disappears. Afterwards, Flower Hat wants to take the little unicorn back as he'd make a great test subject, but it moves closer to Lena. The Fairy King then asks for Lena to take Sirandoros all around the world and give him new adventures. So she decides to give him a new name, Siron. And with that, the king disappears, much to Flower Hat's disappointment as she wanted to ask more questions. But suddenly, Lena collapses. The girl wakes up the following evening. Getting up, she goes to the main room to see Flower Hat as she was brought to her VIP hotel. Soon, one of the guards walks over to her to grab her hand and thank her for defeating the wicked dragon. The guard mentions he was sent by the Holy Sister as her backup. This surprises Lena, as she knew nothing about this. The guard, not seeing the problem, says that he was hired by the Blackbird Merchant Group, leaving as now that the Fairy Stone is gone, he needs to go guard the city. But he's not sorry about it, as it means more business for him. Flower Hat finds it impossible for the Holy Sister to know this information and to send aid, as this only just happened a day ago. Yuan is able to pick up on her tone as it sounds like she's accusing the Holy Sister of knowing when the city would be attacked. Flower Hat then asks if they know the sister's fruit skill. Lena hesitantly replies that it's appraisal. Flower Hat agrees but says that's only on paper. Amongst the higher-ups, there's an unspoken rule that the Holy Sister's skill has to be related to precognition. This shocks everyone. Flower Hat continues her explanation. This is the reason why people call her the Holy Sister, as her predictions are always right. The others get confused by this, as she's the one who appraised their skills and told them what their abilities were. Flower Hat theorizes that she saw their future and just told them what their future selves learned. This information is on a need-to-know basis, but she felt the need to tell them. She did this because both Lena and Dratina were the source of the recent attacks involving the wicked dragon. So she believes they're part of some horrible plan the sister is making. Dratina, who's benefited from the sister's kindness, tries to speak against this, insisting the sister isn't that kind of person. But Flower Hat cuts her off to ask how long she's going to allow herself to be the Holy Sister's pawn. Either way, the two of them are coming with her, as she's keeping both of them under her watch. Dratina understands this means she's under arrest, and Yuan wants to look at it more as them being under her protection. Dratina doesn't want to betray the Holy Sister, but doesn't know what the woman is thinking at this moment. Hearing her be so open about it surprises Flower Hat, and Dratina repeats that she's not joining her side. Flower Hat shrugs it off, saying this will cause a rift between her and the Holy Sister, so she can decide whose side she's on when the time comes. Flower Hat lets out a sigh, not caring about staying here for a couple of days, as she could use some rest. Lena then informs Light what's been happening with her and tells him she won't be around for a while. The next day, Monica presents Light with his sword, with him amazed by it, even going as far as to make him a new coat. With that, Light and Ayla thank them and leave, but are shocked to find Monica next to them. Monica is embarrassed, but asks Light if she could come along with them, as she learned that there's always another step she can add when making an ultimate weapon, so she wants to be there for every step of his journey. With that, the three set out to start their Pokemon journey.